Welcome to episode 202 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and Jeff Gamet's here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm so happy to get to hang out with you. It's always a blast.
Yes, me as well. I'm glad you're here, and I'm also glad that Chuck Joyner's come back to the show and joined us. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave, and I feel really bad that I had to skip out on your 200th show because I was traveling and there was just no way to make it happen. But I'm delighted to be here now on the other side of 200 and headed toward whatever number we're going to next.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we did miss you, but it was a great show. Everybody goes back and listen to that. We also have it highlighted on our website as a featured episode, so go check that out. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, we're just now we're to the next 100 or so episodes or more, maybe, who knows. But we got some news this week, all kinds of fun stuff going on, and I do throw in a couple tips and things that we'll be talking about as well. So that's what's great about this show. We just talk about all kinds of fun stuff related to Apple, and why not? Because that's what we're here for. So let's go ahead and go with the news this week. First story: Apple shares Star Wars Day behind the Mac film. It was in celebration of Star Wars Day, of course. May the 4th be with you, which was yesterday as we record this. A behind the Mac film featuring Skywalker sound effects division of Lucasfilm. And of course, they did things like Star Wars as well as Indiana Jones. Skywalker Sound uses 130 Mac Pro racks, 50 iMacs, 50 MacBook Pros, 50 Mac Minis computers running Pro Tools, and yeah, it was pretty awesome. They even had a fleet of iPads, iPhones, and Apple TV devices for production process. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to see this video yet. It was about 13 minutes or so, I think it was. I started watching a little bit of it, and it is pretty cool. Don't you think, Jeff?
I've seen the little teaser that they did for it.
Did that too.
And that, honestly, yesterday and today have been so crazy that I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I mean, just to give you an idea how crazy it's been, I haven't watched yesterday's episode of Moon Knight yet.
Oh my God. We got Picard today, though. This is the season finale, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So now I have Picard, Moon Knight, and Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds premieres today. Okay, I can't wait. So, but it's cool to see Apple do this. It's some great stuff that they do with their technology. You know, Chuck, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but I think it was at least great stuff that is out there to see this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the Star Wars fan that
you're Star Trek. I know that.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, first of all, you put Star Wars on anything, you're guaranteed a certain audience. They're just going to go right to it, no matter what it is. It could be Star Wars fudge, and then they would go for it. But yeah, I mean, there's no question.
That's actually branded as Bantha Poodoo.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's an audience that right now is going, oh, really?
Yes.
Well, since they released it yesterday, they've only had a little over 4.1 million views.
Yeah. You know, I mean, listen, it's always fun, I think, to look behind the scenes at any of the productions, and definitely, you know, anything sci-fi related when it has to do with Macs, because, you know, at least in theory, then we can't afford, none of the three of us even combined can afford all those Macs, but you can do a lot with your Mac. So it's a cool thing that they do, that they give us a peek behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So check it out. Next story: AirTag firmware update enhances unwanted tracking alert. This article actually came out after we talked about this release last week, because there wasn't really much detail, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this. They released a new AirTag firmware to all the users, but the details at that point were unknown. But now they say it's tuning the unwanted tracking sound to more easily locate an unknown AirTag. And of course, needs iOS 14.5 and later. Of course, there's been quite a debate, as we all know, with the AirTag and using it for malicious ways of following people. And Chuck, what do you think? This you know, we had a bit of a debate with this on Mac Voices, but the AirTags. But I think finally you're going to at least now be able to hear it even better than you were before.
Yeah, you know, again, I mean, Apple is trying to address all the criticism and everything, and so every little change is, I think, a good thing. I haven't frankly, I haven't heard the sample yet of how loud or obnoxious this gets. And part of me says, I get torn, because I don't want, if I'm with someone who has an AirTag on them and it's not mine, do I really want that howling at me, or my phone howling at me or something, saying I'm being tracked? On the other hand, it's not a bad thing. No. So, and it certainly addresses some issues. It'll be interesting to see, let's just say in 6 months to 12 months, if there are any options for me to say, what, I'm not concerned about being tracked. I would like the option to turn those warnings off. But for right now, we don't have that.
No, I know there was a hack. Was there, Jeff? There was a hack. Someone had hacked the way. I think you had to actually go into the AirTag to do it, or I can't remember.
About that. You open up the AirTag and you drill through the magnet.
That's right.
And yeah, because
just a mod.
Just a mod. Yeah, because the body of the AirTag is used as a speaker. So there's not like a discrete speaker in there.
Right. And
when that centerpiece vibrates, it's actually generating the sound through the body of the AirTag, which I think is actually really cool.
Yeah. So good to see that they at least gave us some idea why there was an update, and there was Apple's good at that. Sometimes don't tell you what a firmware upgrade does, but I'm glad this is taken care of, and you'll get a better alert here. So next story here. This is AT&T is raising prices on legacy plans to encourage customers to upgrade to new plans. AT&T is planning to raise the price of older unlimited plans in order to encourage customers to upgrade to newer plans. And single line users can expect to pay up to $6 a month or more, with family plans increasing up to $12. And of course, the price increase only applies to those who've been grandfathered into older AT&T plans. And I bet those, when you say grandfather, those are some really old plans. But come on, AT&T, do you really need to do this? Honestly, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think this is just to get people to get on new plans. T-Mobile's been good for me. I'm on the T-Mobile One plan. They have the Magenta Max, and it's going to be more money. Why would I want to change? I'm on a good plan. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that's, you just brought it up, Dave. I'll put me on a new plan, fine, but is it going to cost me more money? And if it is, what am I getting for it?
Yeah.
And so, if you're trying to play this game where, you have me on a plan, hey, you got me as a customer, and I would think you would want to treat me as a customer. And I took a look at this, and then I started to look at my own contract, and I said, heck with it, I'm not going to bother with it right now. But if it's purely a money squeeze, that bothers me a little bit. If you're saying that, if you're explaining to me why I need to change to a new plan, if you're going to give me more 5G or more data or something, then that's great. But if you're just increasing the price to increase the price, I mean, is it kind of a wash? If I pay $10 on an old plan, or I change to a new plan and I'm paying $10 on the new plan or more, then why not just raise the old plan to the new plan, and let's not jump through hoops unless you're trying to lock me in on a contract.
So you're still on the old grandfathered plan?
I don't know exactly how far. That's why I say I started to look at mine. Then I've said I'll look at it later.
I remember when I had AT&T. Yeah, I held on to that plan as long as I could, but then until I finally left them. But I think I actually know I did upgrade. I switched plans and it turned out to be a better deal, but it was still it was data limited. I think I had like 20 gigs of data. Then it ended up being a family plan, and then here I am with T-Mobile. So.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think at some point I did upgrade along the way, but I'm not sure exactly where.
Yeah.
And honestly, they push this too hard, and it's going to make me take a hard look as making Mint Mobile my only can't say it plan. Because Mint does a really nice job.
They do.
I've got that as a secondary line. But it wouldn't take much for me to push it over to the main line.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, okay, anything that that companies do to make their customers feel like they're being screwed is probably a bad thing.
Right.
And when you're talking about cell service plans and internet plans, those are the places where the companies tend to make us feel the worst. That said, I wonder how many people are still on the legacy plans. And like for me, I ditched the legacy plan years ago. I held on to it, I think out of spite, until one day I realized I can get a plan that actually does everything that I want and more for less than what I was being charged for the legacy plan. So why not just go ahead and switch and end up with something that serves me better? So, so I did that years ago. And when I did it, my initial thought was, I really shouldn't have done that. I mean, I immediately had remorse.
Yeah.
And it turns out it didn't matter. I actually was better off. But that said, I mean, if the price is going up and the sole purpose of the price is to incentivize you to switch to a different plan, that's kind of a crappy way to do that. Why not give you a different incentive to switch to a more modern plan? I mean, like right now, a pretty good incentive from my perspective is if you have a legacy plan, you don't get 5G.
That is true. You don't. So there's another issue. So
yeah, you also can't do tethering.
Yeah, yes, you're limited. Yeah, it's really down to what the plan used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the article says, that you'll be getting an email from AT&T, but they don't know what the email says. So,
right.
Let's flip it around and be fair here. We're condemning AT&T because the way this article was written, and we're all making the assumptions based on past behavior.
Right. So,
you make your bed, you got to lay in it. But I want to see what the actual numbers are. I mean, if Jeff, if you're talking about that far back with not tethering and all, then I definitely don't have that.
But that's what the grandfather plans are.
Okay, well in that case, then so if I'm, I mean, if it's serving me, why not just continue to take my money?
And that's what most people are doing. But now they're going to spend more.
Yeah. Is it, or David, as Jeff just said, is it because they're pushing 5G and they need to pay for 5G and they want everybody on that?
Yeah, that could be too. And I did hear also Verizon now that this was announced that they're thinking about doing it too with their grandfathered plans because they have them as well. So it's continued wars with the carriers. We just love it, right?
Good times.
It's good times. Yeah. Let's move on to something a little more fun. The Camo App. Reincubate, the company that makes Camo that lets you use your iPhone as a webcam. They're now going to allow you to use your iPhone as a Mac webcam with FaceTime, Safari, and QuickTime. Reincubate launched the Camo App back in 2020 to seamlessly upgrade your Mac's webcam that you had already have, but they really never had some really good ways, especially to use it with FaceTime. I'm a lifetime subscriber and absolutely love it. Use it with Zoom. So I'm using it for this podcast right now. So, and it's just an amazing app, and that they keep adding more and more features to it. But this is such great news. Chuck, you've talked to these guys, and what do you think? I think FaceTime is. I tried it briefly, and it actually works.
Yeah. I mean, the Camo folks are really great people, and they are continue to add features. Some of them frivolous, some of them really super useful.
Yeah.
And that's speaking, from my perspective. It may not be frivolous to you or Jeff or other users. So there's always an audience for any feature you put out there. But I think this is really good news because this just enhances the value of Camo, whether you've already purchased it or whether you're going to purchase it, and you almost can stop thinking about, gee, I wonder if Camo will work with this. I know it works with that, but will it work with this?
Right.
Now, there's just a whole lot more of that it definitely will work with.
Absolutely. What do you think, Jeff?
Good for them. Good for us. Give us more features. Bring it on.
Yeah, no, it's good news. So check it out. We got a link to the article and to their software as well. They got good pricing. If you don't want to do lifetime like I did, you can get it monthly if you just want to try it out for a while, because you may change. But no, been super happy with it. So check her out. The next story here. This is sad news. Apple sends the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 2 to the vintage products list. It may be time to retire the the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 2, as both have officially made the vintage products list, which of course considered to be 5 to 7 years after distribution from sale. Service and parts will probably sometimes will last longer, but it all depends. And it's another RIP to another old version of an iPad. What do you think, Jeff?
I cannot believe that Apple is vintaging these products on at the same time that AT&T is taking away the legacy plans.
We just had the A8X chip. That one's quite a while back, but it was the first iPad at the time to have a Touch ID. So it's got some history to it.
And honestly, I thought my iPad Mini 2 had been vintage for a long time already.
Yeah, 2013 it was out, so it's still 9 years.
Yeah, it still boots too.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, that's the thing about some of these. I've got a couple quote unquote. In fact, I think I have more than a couple quote unquote vintage products that are doing just fine for what I do with them. Mm-hmm. And so, if they break, all right, that means that I'm going to do an upgrade. And get something new. But if I have something like that, heck, I still have old iPhone. Like iPhone 2s and 3s that I can use as external mics, for recording. So there are a lot of uses for vintage products just because somebody says it's old, and now I'm not going to try to run modern software on it.
No,
because if I do, I'm going to be disappointed. But,
right, it probably won't even run.
You won't even run it because the app support is gone.
Yeah, but if what you have is working and will run, man, run it into the ground.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and next story here: the Apple Watch Series 7 is now available from Apple's Refurbished Store. Apple, they quietly this week started selling the refurbished models of the Series 7. On its online store. You can now save up to $70 by choosing a refurbished Series 7 compared to the retail price of one at the Apple Store. Not all versions are currently available. So price of the 41 millimeter aluminum with a regular sport band is $339, and that's down from $399. Then the 45 millimeter was down to $359. And models are, of course, without cellular. So, I've had good luck with the Refurbished Store, and can't imagine why an Apple Watch wouldn't be anything different. I've purchased Macs there before, and I think I've had some iPod Touches and others. Jeff, have you bought anything in the Refurb Store?
I have. It's been a little while. The only way I could tell that the product was refurb, other than knowing that that's how I purchased it, was the package that it was in.
Right.
That was it. Otherwise, it might as well have been a brand new product.
Yeah, by law, they're supposed to, if it was ever opened or tried, I'm sure that's what most of these are, is the fact that they were tried and returned and they couldn't sell them as new.
Mm-hmm.
So, any thoughts, Chuck?
Just the most interesting thing about this, I think, is that it took this long for Apple to get enough refurbished products to make it worth their while to put it in the in the Refurb Store. So I think that maybe I'm just looking for good news, but it seems like that speaks to a high degree of happiness with the Apple Watch reliability and happiness, because people didn't return them or didn't turn them in to get repaired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alternately, Apple didn't sell very many.
Could be that too.
I'm totally just throwing that out there just to mess with you, Chuck. I have absolutely no information that tells me that Apple Watch Series 7 was not selling. And as far as I can tell, it actually sells really well.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's a fair counterpoint, Jeff. I don't agree with it, but it's a fair counterpoint.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either, but it's not going to stop me from, stirring up trouble.
Just messing with me.
We got cause trouble. And last story here, Apple lowers trade-in values for Macs, iPads, and Apple Watches. Apple has lowered the estimated trade-in values for select devices in the United States. They've reduced the values of numbers, their various numbers. So at least it was only the Macs and some iPads. The iPad Pro, it's up to $655. That's not bad. The Air, which was $290, and the iPad, the regular straight iPad, $190. So that's still a pretty fair return on a trade-in. The Apple Watch doesn't fare so well, but the 6 at $150, and if you trade in the Series 3, it's $50. But I went and looked at the iPhones. The iPhones are staying pretty solid, and that kind of makes sense, being that the iPhone is a big seller. So what do you think, Jeff?
I think the lower prices are a side effect of Apple's increasing costs because of chip shortages. Yeah. And honestly, I've never been that impressed with the trade-in values. I went to trade in an iPad Pro to get a new iPad Pro at one point, and they told me what they would give me for it. And I actually laughed out loud right in front of the Apple.
I could hear your laugh.
Yeah. And when I finally stopped laughing, I said, no. And I put the iPad back in my bag, bought the new one, and then gave away my old iPad instead of selling it.
And you felt better.
Yeah. And I can verify that older iPad Pro is getting a lot of use. So I made the right decision.
Good.
Including the laughing.
That's right. Any thoughts, Chuck?
This, I don't think this should be a surprise to anybody, especially on the Mac side. And well, for that matter, on the iPad side too, because the pricing of the new stuff is so good, and the power of these new machines is so good that I think they're forcing people or encouraging people to upgrade. Maybe is a better way to say it. And so, the law of supply and demand says if there's a bigger supply, there's going to be, it's going to be worth less. And I have to wonder if that's part of this. And Jeff, it's funny you say that though, because I've gone both ways. I've sold my iPads through third-party, Macs and iPads through third-party services. Sometimes you get significantly more, sometimes not so much. Sometimes the Apple price is better, and there's definitely a convenience factor with trading in it.
Oh, definitely,
Apple. No question. So, that's. I just think that I think we're going to see this trend continue as the M1s or the M series continues to roll out, and you've got this incredible power boost for the price that it's going to be. People are saying, you know what, it's time for me to upgrade my MacBook, my iMac, my whatever it is that I'm using to the new stuff, and that's going to put more stuff in the the trade-in market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anything we can be happy with is the Apple's products keep their value pretty well. I was happy when I traded in my 2019 MacBook Pro and got my M1 one here and got it didn't sting as much when I bought it. Let's put it that way. So
what did you get for your 2019?
They gave me about $1,100.
Oh, okay.
So not too bad. So it was.
One other point on this, should be really good news for those folks who have legacy software that they're not ready to make the jump over to the M1s, right. Or the M series. Excuse me, I shouldn't do that. The M series. This means the Intel Macs are you can start stacking them up if you really have a mission critical situation.
Absolutely.
So now you can do that at a lower cost.
Yep, I always pay attention to what they're selling them for, and they're selling them for good prices still. So grab your old stuff there. All right, let's move on to topics this week. As we always talk about beta, iOS 15.5 beta 4 was released this week, and again, not much else other than we're thinking it's we're about a month away from WWDC here, and we're going to kind of anticipate this is going to be released soon once we find out about iOS 16. There's some minor updates between most of the point releases. Really no crazy stuff. Including maybe some minor changes to Apple Pay Cash, requesting send options, that kind of thing. Surprisingly, if Jeff was here last week, we talked about that crazy thing about the sensitivity list. I have not seen anything else that's brought it up except that one article we talked about last week. I don't know if you've seen anything,
I haven't
Jeff?
seen anything else about it either.
Yeah. So if you don't know this, Chuck, this was the beta found that they created blocks of sensitivity locations for memories in the Photos app, and specifically it was focused on Holocaust related topics in your photos. So we just found it to be bizarre. That's why I'm saying it's beta, so you don't even know if this is ever going to be a thing. I mean, Apple's been pretty hush-hush about that particular topic. So
well, that's what betas are for, to throw things out, try it. And especially the way that Apple has been doing betas recently, they can throw things out, and there's a larger population of quote unquote real users who are going to, notice or take issue with that kind of thing. And so, if they like it, great. And if they don't, then Apple probably will abandon it. Yep.
And watchOS 8.6 is out. No changes we know of. And then tvOS 15.5 was also released, and no changes there as well. So that is beta for this week. And we don't, like we always say, don't put beta on a production device, please.
Right.
Don't be Warren.
Don't be Warren.
Well, don't be Warren for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well said, Jeff. Yeah.
I mean, that's like saying don't be Jeff. Totally applies.
No, if you have to be someone, if you can be Jeff, just don't be Warren.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you're going to save a lot of money on pants.
It'd save a lot of money on Windows PCs, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Oh, Warren, we love you. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. I found this to be a little interesting. This site, Patently Apple, was always interesting to see what they cover a lot of the patents that they find that Apple files. And this week they published something related to winning a patent to a next-gen hinged keyboard iPad accessory with multiple modes that could possibly double as a hybrid device. And so they went in, and the patent office they show all the figures and they show all this other stuff. But then, interestingly enough, one of the figures in there, figure 2A, it's in this article, shows windows that look suspiciously familiar to Mac OS. So you kind of have to wonder, is this something that Apple is considering, because we've been debating this for a while, whether or not they would ever put Mac OS on an iPad. You look through some of the stuff, and of course, it's patent information, so you're always seeing the details of the dimensions and what type of keyboard it is and how it's going to be modularized and all that stuff. Jeff, what do you think? I found this interesting.
Okay, so first off, you have no idea the amount of self-restraint that it's taking to not roll my eyes so far that my retinas detach. Oh my God, no, Apple is not telegraphing that they're making an iPad that runs Mac OS by telegraphing through this patent. No. Okay, so what you do when you make a patent like this, like so many other patents, is you have key things that you want to take control over. Sometimes you do that so that your competitors can't do it. Sometimes you do it because you have key elements that you're going to use in different ways, and you present them in this other way, and it obfuscates what you're actually going to do with them. And let's say that what this patent covers is a magnetically attaching smart keyboard for an iPad. Okay. Giving us a diagram that shows that iPad screen with multiple windows on it, that is not saying that Apple's going to run Mac OS on an iPad. It means that they drew a tablet-shaped device with little windows on it. That's all that means. So here's my take. Nope. No. Apple is not making a hybrid Mac iPad thing. But the concept of a magnetically attaching hingeable keyboard, smart keyboard for an iPad, I think that's really compelling because now you have a way to have a lighter weight, thinner profile iPad with a full-size keyboard or like a laptop-size keyboard.
Yeah. What do you think, Chuck?
Well, I disagree with Jeff. No, I don't. No.
I mean, that's okay, Chuck. You're wrong, but you can disagree.
Yeah. I can't add much to what Jeff says, other than just to say that, Apple patents a whole lot of things.
They do.
And once in a while, in the middle of the night, I get really paranoid and wonder if there's not a department at Apple that just sends false flags up all over the place just to drive everybody crazy. So, I can't get excited over this until somebody shows me a lot more of a prototype.
Well, Chuck, what they could be doing both. I mean, the amount of money it takes for Apple to file a patent, because remember, you have patent attorneys involved in this, and that's some serious cash right there. So let's say you have one element that you want to protect with a patent, and you don't want people to get what it is. Okay, wrap it in all this other stuff, and you've got the one thing, and now you're good to go. And of course, as Brian Chaffin likes to say, people love to build a tapestry or weave a tapestry from a single thread. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what's happening here. There's a lot of people that are either afraid of or want that iPad Mac hybrid. And they look at this and like, crap, or, oh, yay, that's what Apple's about to do. And no, I don't think that's what they're about to do at all.
Yeah, and this was kind of clickbaity. I knew that going in. I wanted to just get
you just wanted to watch me get on the soapbox.
I know it would be interesting discussion here because I just find it interesting. And then there was two articles I put in here. One is actually from Pat and the Apple, and the other one that was total clickbait because it says Apple brings Mac OS to an iPad. So of course that's going to get people to what is this? At least the Pat and the Apple.
So I did that one.
It was the channel news. I have a link in the show notes for that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Channel news.
Right at the headline there. So
I'm trying to not make my eyeballs do it. Yeah. Oh my god.
Control your eyeballs, Jeff.
So but I find patently Apple is interesting just to kind of see because they do bring in the documentation of what Apple actually did file. This is legitimate stuff here.
Yes, Patently Apple is really good at finding the patents and explaining what's in the patents. Sometimes their speculation, I think, is off. Because they're speculating this could be a hybrid iPad Mac thing as well. And I can get why from the pictures. Sure, you can imply that, but. I think that's great for them for finding the patent, but no, that's not what's happening.
I think it could be a cool keyboard that Apple's come up with.
I think it could be a really cool keyboard.
Because the Magic keyboard, which I have now, it has its flaws to it. I mean, it magnetically attaches, but it scares me sometimes that thing's going to fall off or come off, and where this seems, it's almost like a bridge keyboard. I mean, they're obviously patenting it for their design for Apple's sake, but no, I think this is this could be something interesting.
But I bring this up every time that this discussion happens. If you want a Mac with a keyboard, then go buy an Air because they're so bloody thin that you can't believe it. If you really want an iPad with a keyboard, then go buy one of the multiple keyboards, including the one, David, you were talking about, the Magic Keyboard, and it's a pretty good keyboard. And if you really hate that Magic Keyboard, then go find, a Bluetooth keyboard that you like and just carry it with you. And it may not be quite as convenient, but, you will have that wonderful keyboard that you like. Right. I don't understand this obsession with wanting the Mac OS on an iPad. I just am missing it. I don't know. I don't see the benefit to it.
It just seems like a lot of people like to be able to have, they don't want want to travel. I think honestly, I think a lot of executives like to travel with iPads because there's executives out there who don't want to bring a laptop with them. They just want a simple device like an iPad, and they really like it. And then, granted, they're probably doing mostly what the iPad's intended for, is touching and going to the apps that way. But when they need to be able to type something and they're sitting on an airplane, they want to have something small and lightweight and be able to type on it. They tend to like the keyboard, so then they can start, typing up letters, whatever, because, typing on that touch keyboard can be, a little bit of a challenge. But I think executives in companies are probably liking that, and others who prefer to have a keyboard with them when they travel and not have to, to them lugging a laptop with them.
I still didn't understand how you can consider carrying an iPad Air with all its current power with an M1 chip lugging. But again,
well, are you talking about a MacBook Air?
Yeah. MacBook. I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have clarified that. Yeah, a MacBook Air. I mean, that's not a lugging. Yeah, that's not a lugging computer.
Some people.
That's not lugging.
No.
But no, I get it. There are people that know what they want, and it isn't a thing that they can get. And so they're frustrated because they can't get it. And there are people that can get what they want, but they want it to be more than what it is, or thinner or lighter or whatever. So it doesn't matter what they get. It will be lugging because they shouldn't have let Johnny retire. Things aren't getting thin enough anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story. But with the book that's come out about Johnny Ive. But check it out. I thought it was interesting. And let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. Apple did a couple weeks ago. This was covered that they were going to delist App Store apps that hadn't been updated recently. We've got a couple articles in here, but I wanted to get your guys' take on this. They plan to imminently remove games and apps in the App Store that have not been recently updated if developers don't submit an update for approval within 30 days. Those are apps that are, like, I believe, over a year old. But some app developers tend to like the app works. There's no reason to change it. Type of deal is kind of not fair. So that the first headline was this, and then everybody was freaking out about it. But then Apple did share some clarifications after the fact that it's extending the response window, the abandoned apps as far as the effort, and giving criteria that relates to this. If it hadn't been updated the last 3 years, I think that's a pretty fair, fresh threshold at this point, because there are apps that are probably in there that are 5 and 6 and 7 years sometimes, and they've let it go. And I guess they did also add a longer appeal time. Jeff, what do you think as far as apps go? I mean, I kind of agree with this because there's a lot of garbage in the App Store, honestly. I mean, as far as apps that have been along for a long time, don't really do what they are worth what they were doing. And there's a lot of apps that were Sherlock too. Live text is a good example. Apple came out with live text, and then there were a lot of live scan type apps that pretty much were Sherlock because why would you want to use that app when you got it built into the OS now?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this. On one hand, let's clear out the old junk, the garbage apps. On the other hand, there's content on the App Store that didn't need to have an update. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it still does it well. And why should that require to have an update when it's functioning exactly as it needs to and is still compatible with current iPhones? Now, the one place that I didn't get around to checking was sticker packs, because I had heard that sticker packs that didn't get updated, they've fallen under that category as well. Why? It's a sticker pack. A sticker pack doesn't need to be removed from the App Store because it hasn't been updated in 3 years. It's a sticker pack. Yeah.
And the other thing too that Apple's doing is that 3 years and then have a minimum download threshold. That's the other thing that they added. That actually Apple gave the criteria. If it hadn't been downloaded at all or extremely few times in a 12-month rolling period, the developer will get an email notifying that their app has been identified for possible removal of this. Chuck, what are your thoughts on this? With apps and this stuff?
I'm kind of like Jeff. When I first saw this, I thought this is great because it clears out a lot of the cruft. It makes the current apps more discoverable. Jeff's point about sticker packs is completely legitimate. But I also, we love to do a comparison of the App Store to a physical store, and a physical store is not going to keep something around that isn't selling. They're going to move it out in favor of something that is selling, or in this case, being downloaded. And so, when I saw the minimum download thing, and I did not, if it was published, I did not see a number. I don't think a number was published, but if it's just sitting there, kind of taking up space and taking up search, results and everything, I don't have a problem with it, being removed. And I don't know exactly what the process is, so I'm talking a little through my hat here. But if a developer had something that was removed and then wanted to resubmit it, I think I don't believe there would be any prohibition on that.
Well, and since Apple's going to give them a notification ahead of time, that developer can probably work with Apple to do whatever it is that's appropriate to keep their app on the App Store, so it doesn't have to get removed before it comes back.
Right. So I'm all for this because we've often griped about discoverability or searching for something and you find things that are just so far out of date or don't function with current iPhones or iPads. And so this is, I don't see how this cannot help that situation.
I just thought of something. What about people that are using older iPads, older iPhones, iPod touches, where like maybe they can't go above system 9, whatever, system 11 is the other cutoff, I think. And they're still perfectly usable devices. If you take away those apps from the App Store, are they still going to be available for download for people that had already downloaded them, or are they just gone? And I hope the answer is they're still available to download for the people that had already downloaded those apps.
I would hope. You can go iOS 9, iOS 10, iOS 11, iOS 12. I mean, there's still devices out there still running, those versions of OSs, and you hope that app is still there. But then also a lot of developers these days are going back and saying, hey, we're done. We're not going to have this app available for anything newer, older than iOS 13, let's say, or iOS 14.
Right, but the old version is still available.
It is
for the people that downloaded it already.
Okay, so right. If they'd already have downloaded it, yes, but as people should know, if having a device that old, you have to expect that the App Store is going to be more limited to what there's available out there. So.
Yeah, I'm sure if we went back and, looked in the podcast archives of a lot of podcasts, that there are apps that were highly recommended and dearly loved that are now, showing their age, to say the least, or have disappeared. I know I can't think of them because I just know they were gone, and it's like, okay, well, it's gone. I have to move on. Mm-hmm. But I know I've lost apps that way, and it wasn't necessarily because of Apple deleting them. It was just because the developer abandoned them; they would no longer function, or something better came along.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, it is what it is. If the app is going to be removed, that's what happens. I mean, the developer has to. I mean, if anything, maybe the developer make a minor change to it, and then they get off that flag. And see that it's been updated.
New app icon.
I mean, there you go. Simple thing like that, and just make a minor change. To maybe that will help if it's an app that developer truly cares about. Now, obviously, if it's an app that's free, you might kind of wonder. That's maybe why they tinkered, they got it published, and they decided to move on to something else. And most developers are smart enough; they just stop publishing it and then just do something else. But some developers, and they do tend to leave things lag for a long period of time in the app store. So,
I'd love for somebody, pardon me, I'd love for somebody to give me an example of an app that they need to run on an older iPhone or iPad that doesn't have an alternative that is at least as good, if not better, currently.
I can give you an example, but I can't give you a specific product.
Okay.
There are accessories that people have bought for their iPhones and iPod Touches and iPads that the devices have been updated or are just simply not for sale anymore, and they need a specific app. And so you have an older device so that you can use that specific accessory with it. And in that case, you need to have the whole package. You need your older version of iOS, you need your older device, you need the older accessory, and you need the older app.
Yeah, but that feels like a really specialized case, Jeff.
Of course, it's a very specialized case. Yeah.
I mean, how many of those? I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't dismiss it out of hand.
I don't know, but I mean, like, I know I have devices in my Hobbit closet at the back of my office that if I were to still want to use them, the only device I have that I could use them with would be my iPod Touch, because that device is stuck at iOS 9.4.3 or something like that. And so that would be the only device I have that would have compatibility with the older accessories.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I got good news for you. Just go back to the Refurb store or the trade-in store, and you can get some real deals on that old stuff. And there you go.
Sweet.
Or maybe eBay for that matter. All right, let's go ahead and move on and talk about Jeff's rant this week. And it caught my eye, Jeff, more so because it in all seriousness, I think it's kind of stinks that this is not working right. But for you were having trouble with Sidecar on Mac OS using it with your iPad. And of course, we've already talked about that numerous times here, previous shows, as well as universal control. So what's been going on? Why do you think Sidecar is giving you such problems? I mean, you obviously aren't running beta, so it's the production version of Monterey and your iPad. So what really causes all the problems here with Sidecar?
I'm not sure where the problem's coming in. All I can assume is that something has happened with the most recent updates for macOS and iPadOS that is making Sidecar incredibly unstable. Because I've been using Sidecar a lot without any problems for a really long time, and while you could say, well, geez, why not just use universal control? Well, sometimes what you need is to span your display on your Mac across something bigger. So, like in my case, I sometimes will take my laptop and go and work in other locations where I need more screen space than my MacBook Pro has. So I bring an iPad along, and then I span my desktop with Sidecar over to the iPad. Now I have that extra screen real estate. And what I noticed last night when I was trying to do this, which is the first time I've done it since I installed the most recent updates, it'll work for a minute or two, couple minutes, and then everything freezes. My Mac stops responding, my iPad stops responding, and eventually my Mac will start to respond, and then Sidecar crashes on the iPad, and it's consistent, like super consistent.
Okay, Jeff, are you hardwired connected or Bluetooth connected?
Wireless connected.
Okay. Have you tried it hardwired?
I didn't have a cable with me, so no. And I was so pissed off at that point that no.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I can try it and see if it's a wireless specific issue. But I mean, if that's the case, come on, seriously, this has been working perfectly for 2 operating systems now, and now it suddenly stops working.
Yeah,
Very frustrating.
I just wondered because it feels like from what you just described, because I've had not situations with Sidecar, but just similar situations where the Mac will just freeze up for some reason, or it feels like it's freezed up, frozen, whatever. And it's still doing something behind the scenes. And if you just keep your hands off of it long enough, it'll catch up and keep on going. But we all get really impatient.
Yeah. And in my case, with patience, granted, very limited patience in the moment, when Sidecar crashes, then my Mac starts responding again and catches up.
Yeah.
But you're not having any trouble with universal control at all then, are you?
Right. Universal control's working just fine. It's just Sidecar.
Interesting. Because Sidecar's been out for a while versus
right.
Universal control is quote unquote kind of a beta still. It really isn't, but
yeah. Well, I think that universal control, which is still kind of beta, drug Sidecar back into the beta world because I think they're pretty tightly intertwined.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So, all right. Anything else? We'll go on and move on and go through some tips this week. The Apple Music timer. I don't know if anybody was familiar with this. You can find what's called the hidden Apple Music sleep timer on the iPad and on the iPhone. And I didn't know this, but I also use this for when I'm listening to using like a radio app of such as well. But what you can do is that you go in and you actually open up Apple Music on your iPhone and iPad, play something, and then you can start. You can go play it. Then you go into the clock app. Then you go under the timer tab. And then that's on the bottom right corner, you choose when timer ends. And in that timer, it does give you the option where it says stop playing. Because by default, it's set to, when the timer ends, then it'll play like an alarm or whatever you want. And you scroll through some of the items there. But at the very bottom there, it says stop playing. This is great for, especially if you want to listen to some music when you're in bed and you want to sleep. And it'll actually stop the timer, and stop it from playing, so it doesn't play for you all night long, and wake you up. So I thought this was kind of a cool tip. You guys ever use this?
Yes, this is something that I've used, like when I've been traveling and I'm in a hotel.
Yeah, you go.
And I want to have just some kind of ambient noise playing, but not all night long.
Right.
And so I'll set my iPhone to play whatever, and then use this to make it turn off automatically.
Cool thing is it works with type of music too. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, well, no, I just was a little surprised when I saw this as a tip because I'm with Jeff. I've used this plenty of times, and that's what I would expect to happen. If I set a timer, I would expect it to turn off the music. So
yeah, while this seems straightforward to us, Chuck, there's a lot of people that wouldn't think to go to the timer to look and see if you can tell it stop playing music.
Because by default, it's going to play an alarm, like the radar sound, which everybody knows. Yeah. People don't realize that you actually can go in and set it to this and to have it just stop playing.
Now, didn't Apple add the ability to have music stop playing after a certain amount of time on HomePod?
I thought so. I'm not super sure where that is. That setting is.
I think it's just you tell it how long to play.
Using the Siri in the HomePod.
Yeah, and excuse me, and that would be a great use for the ambient sounds that you can play through HomePod. Tell it play. I forget what they're called. Like play ambient rain storm for 2 hours or something like that. Apple should make it easier to know that you can do stuff like tell your HomePod to play ambient noise, because they have several that you can choose from.
Yeah, they really should. So, other tip I had here was with stream recordings. by holding down the screen recording button in the control center, it brings up a menu and will give you the options as being able to stream on different services. So you can do a screen recording by going in, tapping, and holding the control center screen recording button, and then it gives you a menu here. So now I'm looking through my list here. It'll work with services like Discord and Gmail, Messenger, Microsoft Teams. Oh, bite my tongue. TikTok, right, and Twitch, as well as Zoom. It actually will do a screen recording and stream right to those services. So you can, especially TikTok, if you wanted to record something on your screen right off the bat, you can actually record it right to TikTok, and
you can turn the microphone on there too.
Turn the microphone on as well. Yeah.
Okay. For as long as I've been using these devices, how did I not know I could do that?
That's why you're on this show, Jeff, because we learn these things.
Right. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this one either.
Yeah, super cool. The other one I'm thinking you guys know, I'm sure, is sharing your Wi-Fi password. And you can share your Wi-Fi password with other iPhone users. Now, I have to stress, they also have to be, as long as they're in their contacts and both devices have Bluetooth enabled, you can have the other person go to the settings, Wi-Fi, and then a pop-up should appear on their screen asking to connect, and then tap share password at that point. I get people ask me this all the time. They say, oh, how do you share your password? Because I know you can do that. And I'm like, okay, well, this is how you do it. You have to, first off, you have to be in your contacts list. So if you're not, then that it's not going to work, because they have to see that. But other than that, this is a great way to be able to share your Wi-Fi password. I'm assuming you guys have used that before.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since it will share with your own devices as well, this has been really handy for me when I've been places like a hotel or a coffee shop or whatever, and I've gone to the trouble to say, like, put my iPhone on the Wi-Fi network.
Yep.
And now I need to add my iPad or my Mac. It just automatically sends the password over, and it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a good thing to know about. This tip's interesting. I thought you might get a kick out of this. You're on the phone and you want to hang up with the person, and you don't want them to know that you just disconnected. You hung up on them, because obviously when you're on the phone, people are. You can tell when someone hangs up, it goes duh, 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 they've hung up, right? This is kind of an interesting trick. What you could do is, you're on the phone, you talk to the person, you can go into settings, go into airplane mode, turn airplane mode on, and it makes it to the fact that they think that, oh, you got disconnected, we lost our connection, and just by turning on airplane mode.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
I thought that was a good tip to be able to do that. So, and the other one I had here was hiding your apps, and you want to hide the page here. Everybody's known this, but it's a good refresher. When you go on a home page here, and you got the 4 or 5 dots at the bottom there, however many pages you have here, you tap and hold it. It wiggles and then brings up the list of all the pages of all the apps that you have that you want to see all the time. All you have to do is you go in and uncheck the page, and then that page will be hidden, which is great. I think it was one of the cooler features that they added. I think this was added in maybe iOS 13, if I remember correctly. And I like this feature. I think it's a great way to do that kind of stuff. So. With that, do you guys have anything else? You think of anything that you've used within recently with your iPhone that makes think, if you could think of anything? I'll put you on the spot there.
The flashlight. Okay. Not just using the flashlight, but changing the brightness of the flashlight.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you do that?
So, all right. So if you tap and hold on the flashlight button, you get a pop-up slider, and so you can make your flashlight brighter or dimmer. And I think it works from the lock screen.
I believe it does.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, so but in Control Center,
right? Control Center for sure.
It definitely works there. Yeah. Okay. Apparently, it does not work from the lock screen. It's just on or off.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I do use the brightness control for the flashlight on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, that was a very good tip. Thank you, Jeff. An added bonus.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't offer one. I can tell you, though, that with airplane mode, two things. First of all, I don't need it to use to hang up on anybody. I use AT&T. But no, seriously, airplane mode is super useful. I've used it to make sure that if I'm using my phone to record video or something, that if I turn into airplane mode, nothing is coming through. So I don't have to worry about anything being interrupted at all. So, if you need to isolate your phone or your iPad for that matter, turn on airplane mode, and now you won't get anything at all. So there
you go.
That's not exactly what it's intended for, but it definitely serves the purpose.
Okay, another thing. Tap and hold on stuff on your phone.
Yes.
Because you'll often find stuff. Like one of the things I discovered a long time ago was in Control Center, when you tap on Wi-Fi, like tap and hold on the Wi-Fi icon, you get a list of all the Wi-Fi networks around you. So you don't have to go into settings Wi-Fi to see all of your Wi-Fi networks.
Yep. I love that.
About that.
In the that's in Control Center, you tap the Wi-Fi mode and it'll show you.
Yeah, so tap and hold. If you just tap, it toggles Wi-Fi on or off.
Right. Tap and hold it. Yep. That's definitely a good tip. So, all right. Well,
yeah.
I think it's time for us to bring this show to a close for this week. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You also can become a Patreon of the show on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have a couple tiers there available for you to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified to when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time at youtube.com/DaveG65. You also can listen to past shows and watch these live streams that we're doing here as well. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we've discussed are flipped into that magazine. Check that out. The link is in the show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts and Apple Podcasts, and no longer Facebook, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Chuck Joyner, thank you as always for being here as our guest. We really appreciate it. Glad you were able to make it, and tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, thank you, David. It's always fun. We're on a lot of shows together, but it's never enough.
Yeah, never.
Never. You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where I talk to a lot of interesting people about Apple technology and other related technologies. This week and into next week, I'm releasing the interviews I did at NAB. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff there that you probably aren't going to find many other places. Some of it is very much Apple related. Some of it is just, I'll call it Apple adjacent, but it's all very interesting. You can find us doing Mac Voices Live with both Jeff and David Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room, and that way you can throw comments back at us the way we throw them around at each other. And finally, on the social networks, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner or as at Mac Voices. Thanks for having me, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And yeah, some great interviews on NAB, including with Lipson, and you got to talk to Larry O'Connor again at OWC. Those were two notables coming up top of my head here, but check it out. There's some great interviews. Jeff Gamet, thanks as always for being here. Always appreciate you being here. And where can people find you?
Well, thanks as always for having me back, because this is a lot of fun. I do look forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. People can find me on Twitter and Instagram, JGamet, both places, youtube.com/JGamet for some videos. And Chuck, you mentioned Mac Voices Live. So that's a fun way to spend Tuesday evenings. And then here we are on a Thursday evening in touch with iOS. Thursday afternoons is the big show. Friday mornings is the Mac show. And Brian Chaffin and I are doing the Context Machine. And I'm awful. I haven't looked to see if this week's show has gone live yet. Brian and I share our first thoughts on 1Password 8.
Oh, I have to go listen to that one. Let's see if it's there.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
You can go listen to the last week's about your rant about Elon Musk and Twitter.
It's funny because I started off initially with the whole Elon thing, kind of thinking, well, we need to wait and see, and let's look at this. And by the time we got to doing the show, I was like, you know what? Sure, some good can come out of this, but wow, this is a dumpster fire waiting to happen.
It sure is.
Do you mean this discussion with you and Brian, or the Elon thing itself?
Oh, this is the Elon thing. Brian and I, we had a good discussion.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
I think there was one point where we both just straight up disagreed, and then just we both stopped and then just moved on, because we realized we were not going to find a common ground on whatever that thing was.
Yeah, Brian was off his meds, but yeah, it's funny. That's what happens.
Yeah. Well, go listen to Jeff on there and many others. And thanks again, Jeff. Really appreciate it. And thank you for listening. We really appreciate you being here, and it's much appreciated. And we'll talk again soon.